y'all, I'm Shelby with Shelb's Crafty VIP, and we are here today for our second tutorial of the week. Today we are making a 6-foot mantle garland. I know you guys have been dying to learn how to make garlands, and so this is going to be our first of many tutorials over these next couple of months. Basically the template I do my garlands is the same for everything, for every season, every occasion. Pretty much everything. So you're going to see how I make my base, how I work through it. I'm going to explain everything. But like I said, this template is very, very versatile because I like to keep things simple, because the way I run my business is I make multiples of everything. So try to make it as seamless as possible because I'm pumping them out the door. I've already sold about 30 of these this season, and I have 10 more open orders. So as you can see, I need it to be easy, but I want it to be beautiful because I want every one of my customers to know that it's made with love. I already have about half of it done because I know you guys didn't want to sit and waste, 30 minutes watching me put mesh on a garland. So this garland is actually one from Hobby Lobby. It was 9 foot. The customer wanted 6 foot. I measured 6 foot and cut that 3 foot off. Now I kept that 3 foot because those pieces can be put together for 6 foot in the future. They can be put together if someone orders a 12 foot and I need to, makeshift one. So those can definitely be used. I don't throw them away. They can be used for lantern swag pieces. So that just came off. You don't want to throw your supplies away. So I just go through here and kind of fluff this out, and then I just start with my mesh. And I do the same method that y'all watched me do on my swags and wreaths. Lay it against me, gently roll it in, and cruffle it up. Now, on a garland, I generally use 3 colors because with the odd number, it gives you the ability to alternate better. And so obviously on these garlands, they're straight. The pines are straight, everything is kind of in a line. But when you use these 3 colors, as you're putting them on, now I'm gonna have to go around and pick everything up because I just dropped it. Whatever. Story of my life. I need a bigger table. I use the 3 colors because I see I put one here. I came to this side, tied one up and pulled it here. And now I'm going to come back to this side, grab 2 pines, and just twist it around. And so even though it's straight, I can still do a diagonal line for every color. And so we're going to do that all the way down. And I'm just using 10-inch mesh. That's all I ever use on my garlands. You can, a lot of garlands you'll see will have the big poofs of mesh on them. You can do that. However, I've gotten away from that method because I like the way this looks better. It's more fun. It's more whimsical. It gives it a fuller effect. The big poofs just kind of cover, and you can really, especially for not Christmas, when you're not really trying to show off the green, the cruffles work better because the poofs, you really see through them and they snag on everything and it just kind of looks a little messy. Now I have done the poofs and the cruffles, and that I alternate. When you do the poofs, you alternate sides, kind of make a poof, tie it, make a poof, tie it, make a poof, tie it, and then I come back on the opposite side and just run cruffles down it. So you can do either way on that. That's really just a personal preference. You would think it was a time saver. It's really not. This method, I can cut mesh, fluff the garland, and put the mesh on in about 30 minutes. So it really doesn't take that long. And it's the hardest part of the whole thing. This and tying the bows is the hardest part of a garland. The same thing with the wreath. And it's not hardest. I guess it's just the most time consuming. I love doing 6-footers though because they're so simple. When you're doing a 9-foot, well, you can do 9-foot for a mantle, so I should say that. When I like doing mantle garlands, they seem to take less product because everything is facing the front. So they seem to take less time. They're less time consuming, and you use less, and they just go way faster, especially on 6-foot. Doing that extra 3-foot, you'd be surprised. It'll wear you out. So I do a lot of 6-foot. I do a lot of 3-foot, and I do a lot. I'm gonna have to go around and pick that mesh up. Hang on, guys. Sorry. But I do a lot of 18-foot for Christmas. I'm doing a 20-foot fall right now. I already have an 18-foot Christmas order because 18-foot on a single door will generally go from the floor all the way across and then back to the floor. So a lot of people want that because they want it to cover their whole door. Or on a double door, it'll go halfway down each side. And so it looks great on a double door too. So 18-foot is pretty common. Pricing on garlands. I try to keep my garlands around $70. And that's pretty much for a 6-foot, a 9-foot. You're gonna use the same stuff in a 6 or 9-foot. The only thing you're using more of is mesh, really. You're gonna use the same product. So those are gonna be about the same. So the fall, it's not gonna look like much, but they're pretty, I've got them pretty simple. And so I just used the wrong color. They're about $70. I keep about $70 worth of material in here. That's ribbon, mesh, everything. So a lot of people charge more. These are pretty simple. Now on Christmas I list my 9-foot Christmas standard garland on Etsy for $220. Because Etsy takes their fee, and usually I end up walking away with about $200 after Etsy fees. And Christmas usually runs me a little bit higher, especially this year because I ordered in a lot of stuff, and with the freight surcharges, it made everything go up a little bit. So I'm gonna have about $100 in every 6 and 9-foot Christmas garland. Well, I want to make double that for my labor. I want to be able to, and the thing is, I know I can do that at Christmas because Christmas is all about impulse purchasing. People will buy it. You can make your money at Christmas. Fall is pretty close to it. You can, that people like to, this is the time of year where everybody buys. People want to decorate for fall. They want to decorate for Christmas. But Christmas is really where you're going to make your money. And so now the longer the garlands get, the cheaper it gets. I should double my price, but I will knock off about $20 or $30. So like a 9-foot is $220. I usually charge $375 for an 18-foot because usually the longer, you're not necessarily going to have double your materials. It'll be close, but you're still going to make about the same amount of money. So that's just a general price. A lot of people will charge, so basically it's $20 a foot. I charge $180 for a 6-foot though, because it's gonna have the same amount of materials, and so I'm not knocking that much off. It takes me a little less time. It's the only reason I'm knocking anything off. Okay, see? So it's been 9 minutes. We did half of that, 20 minutes, and my mesh is already cut. So like I said, 30 minutes at the most, once you're getting pretty good at it. So what we're gonna do next, now I can move this mesh out of my way. Spread this out across the table a little bit. Now on a 9-foot, I usually put it on my table. I fold it in half. That way I'm doing both halves at the same time and I can keep my center point. On my 6-foot, I fold it in half to find my half, but then I just kind of eyeball it. I stretch it back out. because I know it's going to be forward facing. So I want it straight so I know what it's looking like on someone's mantle. I gotta tell you guys, these fall ones I've made pretty freaking easy this year. They are pretty easy. Hobby Lobby did a very good job this year. And they might have them last year, I don't know. But with their fall garlands, they did great. They're beautiful. So this is a fall leaf garland from Hobby Lobby. It's just not supposed to be joined down there. It's just stuck. From Hobby Lobby, okay? It is regularly $11.99. Their fall stuff is 40% off. That makes it about $7.50. Very inexpensive, and it's 6 foot long. I used I used 3 of these in a 9 foot. I used 2 in a 6 foot. The reason I used 3 in a 9 foot is I put 1 on either side, and then I cut a whole one up to fill in all the gaps. On a 6 foot, I don't have to do that. These are 6 foot long each. They're folded in half. I put 1 on each end, and it is super full. I mean, if you wanted to just leave it like that, you could. I just told my son not to yell for me, and now he's already yelling for me. Anyway, it's Saturday, guys, so y'all are going to hear my family in the background. It is what it is. So, I'm going to take off my stickers. And see, this has 2 loops at the end of it for hanging. These 2 loops right here. And so we're just going to snip those off. Oops. And send them flying. I kind of fold in the ends though, because the leaf picks are just wrapped around there and they will slide right off. They're not very secure. Now I'm going to come to this end, and I'm just moving it around for you guys to see in the camera. And I'm going to fold it in half. Just going to give it a little bend at that halfway mark. Doesn't have to be perfect. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to the very end because I'm going to have a bow down here. I'm going to know about where my bow goes, and I'm going to come right above it. And I'm going to stick it in here, and I'm going to find some pine. If I left any. And I'm going to stick that loop in there and just twist it in and secure it in place. Now I'm going to come to the front, and this has a spine on it, and so I want to hide majority of that because I want it to look like the leaves are coming from the inside. So I'm going to move my mesh around a little bit, and I'm going to come down probably about another 1.5 feet, about halfway down this side, and I'm going to find another couple of pieces of pine and twist it around this spine. And that's just going to hold it in place and keep it from sticking out too much. And I'm going to come down here all the way to the end, find another piece of pine, and secure it. Now that's more on the front side, and I'm going to do the back side the exact same way. So I'm going to come in here, split my mesh up a little bit. Find the pine pieces, which is sometimes hard, especially if you get your mesh too full. When I'm putting my mesh in, I don't use every single tie. You don't have to. You're going to get it full enough. If you do that, it's going to take forever and you're going to use a ton of mesh. Skip over some, especially because you're going triangle. Leave a tie. Use this one and this tie and tie it together. And then use this one and this one and tie it together. It'll be full enough. And if it's not, come back and add random pieces because nobody's going to see your color pattern. It's going to be fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now my customer's going to know which one's the front and the back by the way I place my bows. So I'm doing that on the back, but I kind of did it more toward the middle. That way it's super full. But look how full that is, you guys. Just with that one $7.50 garland in there. I could put another one on the end and you could leave it just like that if you wanted to. And you could sell it like that on Etsy. $50, someone's going to buy it. Okay, we're going to take our second one. We're going to do the exact same thing. I don't understand why they put the sticker on here and the piece of cardboard, which I don't even see a sticker on. Oh, there it is. It's just a little overdone, but make sure you get your stickers off. Okay, we're gonna snip off these ends again. What did I do with my, oh, lost my snippers. Throw those away. Bend over my ends. Come down to the second half. These are usually folded in a way where one end's longer than the other, so I just maneuver it and fold it where I want it. And we're going to do the exact same thing. Go a little bit above where we put our bow. Find some pine and secure it. Move my mesh around to work it inside. Find some more pine. Find some more pine somewhere. Right here's good. And secure it. One more. And then down the other side. Now Hobby Lobby has some more expensive garland versions there that are really pretty, that they have some more stuff in. But if you're just using it as a tool, now you could probably get one that's a lot prettier for 40% off, stick it in here and go. But I like to add so much more stuff to mine to make it extra full that I go with the cheap version, that way I can add what I want. So look at that, look how full that is, just those two garlands. And so right now we have about what, 15 plus the garland, 20 plus some mesh, about $30 in it. You could sell it for 60, boom, made 30 bucks. For about 20 minutes worth of work. We're not going to do that. We are now going to take some ribbon. Now this is just a rust ribbon. Hobby Lobby has this. I bought it in a 50-yard roll from Etsy, I think. I like to, on all my garlands, you will see a main ribbon running down it. It's just another accent that I like to do. So I'm going to unroll this. And I'm going to start at this end. I'm going to leave a little tail. I'm going to find some pine up under where the other bow is going to go and tie it off. Now since this is a 6-footer, I'm going to weave it, but I'm going to face it more toward the front. So I'm just going to let it loop over in the front a little bit, gather it, and then find a place to tie it. And when I tie it, I push it back down in there, so it's not just sticking up. And that helps it secure it a little bit more too. I'm gonna run this one kind of over the top and tie it off. Man, there are really just not a lot of pines on this one that I left open. There we go. Come down again, loop it kind of in the front. If you see you got some random holes, move your mesh around a little bit and it'll fill it in really quickly and easily. My gosh, I forget. One more loop down here. I really left no pine down here, like none. Then we'll cut it off, and I'm going to be extra careful so I don't snip my finger again. I don't want y'all to have to see that. Thankfully, I was not doing a video when that happened because it was really bad. All right, just dovetailing those two ends. Now, the next component we're going to add, you can buy these in picks. I buy it in the Garland at Hobby Lobby. Just these beautiful pieces. This is a little more expensive. It is $39.99. 40% off, it was $24. So, that comes out to roughly $2.40 per pick. The same, you can buy these as individual picks. It was just easier for me to buy the garland. So I'm taking off the tag. I'm unwinding this top because all this is 10 individual picks that you can buy. So either way, just a personal preference. But I'm just going to snip these off, and I'm going to snip off 4 of them. So there's 4. And now each pick has 2 picks that I use. So if you turn it around a little bit, you will see another pick by itself. So you have 2 picks here. I'm going to snip this one off. We got 2 picks each. So now we have 8 picks from these 4. So like, what, $1.20 a piece. It's pretty inexpensive. And it's a really good filler. All right, so we snip those off. And now we're going to take them and we're going to alternate all the way down. So I'm going to get my hot glue gun. I'm going to take the one with the little bulbs first. I know, again, where my bow is going, so I'm going to go right in front of it because there's no point in going where that bow is. I'm going to glue a little bit, and I'm going to stick that down in there. Again, it's a mantle garland, so I want these to stand up and face the front. That's what makes it an easy filler, because when you're doing a 9-foot door garland, you're having to fill up, you're having to alternate because you're filling up both sides because it's facing up, it's facing forward. So you're alternating both sides. This one, you can just go down the middle. I'm gonna glue that in. And we're just alternating all the way down. Being conscious of exactly where you're putting your bows. You can put your bows in. We probably should have put our bows in before this, but that's okay. Now this is just a filler, and the way that it feels, nobody's gonna be able to tell if they're in order. Yeah, so really I only used 3 picks, 6 pieces. So what I'm going to do is just take this other one and stick it in here somewhere, probably in between the last 2. I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Just more filler. And I know it's hard for you to see on the camera, but it's really fills it up. Okay, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and do our bows. That way we can get our bows placed and you can see how I'm placing the rest of my items. So I'm using the same 3 bows that y'all watched me use before. I'm gonna use this rust that I just used going down the middle. The plaid is gonna be my middle ribbon, and the pumpkin glitter is gonna be my base ribbon. This came from the wreath shop. This came from Joycey Lane Designs, or the Ribbons to Bows gals. And the rest, I already told you where that came from. So I'm going to start the way I do my bows with my front ribbon. Tail, pinch, loop. Pinch, loop. Pinch, cut. Okay. Gotta take the plastic off. find it easier if you're doing a hand bow to build from the top down. A lot of people build from the bottom to the top. You can do whichever way you like best. Tail, pinch, loop. This is one-sided, so then I'm going to twist. I'm going to loop it again, and then I'm going to cut it off. Same thing with the pumpkin. Tail, pinch. Now I'm just stacking this in my fingers. Pinch, twist, loop, and cut it off. Very quick, simple. I'm tying it off with a tan pipe cleaner because it's, you know, similar in color. I wouldn't tie it off with red, which that wouldn't really stand out too terribly. Probably purple. I wouldn't tie it off in purple. Do something that's kind of similar. And then you have your simple bow. And so this one we're going to attach to this end. And I'm just taking my pipe cleaner. Let me move this down. Taking my pipe cleaner. I'm spreading it out. I'm placing this on the end, and I'm just running it in between the mesh around that spine and tying it off in the back. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and dovetail it carefully. Guys, ever since I snipped my finger, oh my gosh, I have been so cautious of how I do everything because I keep bumping it too. It's gonna take a while. It's the worst injury I've had to date. All right, now let's do our middle bow. And on this one, it'd be great if I was using a 4-inch. For my middle bow, I don't have a 4-inch, so we're just doing all three of them the exact same way. I might make the loops. The loops are a little bit bigger probably in the middle bow. But again, that's just a personal preference and what you find that your eye likes. You don't want them too big because they'll fold over. They're floppy. This is just a linen ribbon, so it's not super sturdy. I'll leave that one for the middle. We're going to go ahead and tie off this other end bow. Remember, when you're tying your bows, do not pinch super hard. You need to pinch enough to hold it, but guys, trust me, you're going to regret it. You're going to have some severe pain in your hand if you consistently pinch too hard. There's our third bow. I'm going to go ahead, get that out of the way. Bring this end over. Tie this on. these out of the way. All right, I'm gonna fold this in half so I can find my center point to tie my bow. Now, on my bows, the pipe cleaners, I twist them around, I leave them long. You're not gonna be able to see them, but that way, if your customer puts their garland up and does not like the placement of the bows, they can move them, because every house is different. And so that way they can untwist them and retwist them wherever they feel suits them. Okay, so I find my center point, come in. Now, it's upside down. This one I'm going to not do really on the top. I'm going to go more to the front and tie it back behind. That's just how I do it, guys. If you find another way that works better for you, by all means. And like I said, I'd really like to use a 4-inch. A 4-inch is expensive, and I also didn't find a 4-inch that I liked. And these have sold really well, so it's really a non-issue. All right, let's go ahead and dovetail these. I promise I'm not throwing stuff on the floor. There's a trash can down there. I very much try to clean up as I go, because when you are crafting, it makes an enormous mess. Now, if you saw this room and my kitchen right now, you wouldn't think I clean as I go, but I promise I do. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we just have those 3 ribbons on there. Ribbons are such a good filler. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this one, because I love the plaid throughout. We're going to take a tail, going to pinch it, we're going to make 1 loop, and we're going to twist it. And so we're going to make a 1 loop bow. We're going to make 4 of them and put them throughout. So I'm going to put one down here in the middle. And I'm just finding 2 more pieces of that pine and twisting it around that loop. Now, if you can't find pine, tie it off with a pipe cleaner, reach in there and twist it around that. You can do that also. So I have this 1 loop and these 2 tails, just enough of an accent right inside of there. Now these tails are kind of going to the front, so I'm going to tie this one to where the tails are kind of going up, not necessarily toward the back. You're not going to see the back. On a 9-footer, it would be, you know, alternating, but these are going to kind of stand up. You don't want everything to be too uniform, or it takes away the character. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Don't have to be perfect. Nothing on here is perfect. Now I do try to correspond, like that one's standing up, so this one's going to stand up. This one will face forward just as this one is. You do want it to be, you know, symmetrical. And this plaid ribbon is just very bold. I like the way it stands out. I think it'd be really pretty with black and white too. There's just not a lot of, I don't know, there's not a lot of black and white fans, I feel like. So that's why this one was my go-to for my design. Go with what your perfect customer wants. What you think your perfect customer wants. And don't try to be like anyone else. You want people to be able to see your design and be like, that's Shelby's design. Because the majority of everything you make is going to look pretty much the same. Because you're going to find your style You're gonna find what works best for you, and that's what you're gonna go with. So on this one, I was using some berries from Hobby Lobby. They were sold out when I went the other day. I'm gonna have to go to the other Hobby Lobby in my other town close to me. But for this tutorial, I'm just gonna snip off some berries that I have on this little swag. A few leaves on them, that's fine. Oh, I can separate them, never mind. Okay, so we're gonna snip these off. I keep losing my snippers, there they are. I like the berries for the fall, just another, you know, dimensional feature. And I used the berries that I showed you guys the other day. That's good. We're just gonna stick a couple of these in there just for another texture. Just another little something. And wherever I place one on one side, I'm gonna come to the other side and place it. For one, if I run out, I want it to look the same. And see, I only have one more big piece. Let's snip that off. And I'll put this one up here. And this one over here. And I'm just, it's just adhering to that pine and a little bit of that burlap. And I just stick it in because it's gonna stick. Okay, our last component and then we're done. 37 minutes. So under an hour, a whole 6-foot garland. It takes us that long to make a wreath. So you can see why I price them the way that I price them. You don't have to have some extravagant, crazy price for your garlands. Okay, next are the pumpkins. These are all Hobby Lobby. I ordered them in bulk because my Hobby Lobby was out, and thank God they had these online. These were $3.99, 40% off, obviously. We are going to use 4 of these. And 2 glitter pumpkins. Now guys, again, we are making this for a 6-foot mantle, mainly because the video was easier to do on a 6-foot. I used the exact same method for a 9-foot. I told you at the beginning, the only difference, I fold it in half and then I work from both sides. So when you're putting in these picks and stuff, you're alternating inside, outside, inside, outside. So just trim these off because you don't want them sticking through the bottom and scratching your customer's mantle. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some glue on the end of that. I'm going to put some glue on the bottom of that pumpkin too. And I'm going to come in here in this empty spot right here, right by this ribbon and berry, and I'm going to stick that pumpkin. I'm going to try to make it, you know, a little toward the front. I'm not cramming it in there where it's flat. I'm going to come right next to it. I'm going to take this glitter pumpkin and I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to try to angle it a little bit toward the front. Just a little empty spot there. Place it just like that. I'm going to take this next one, put some more glue. I'm coming here right next to this bow. Right there. And I put that one more front facing because I know that that's going to be sitting in the center. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on this end. So a garland is very repetitive. So you don't have to watch me make an 18-foot garland to know how I do the whole thing. You literally make 2 9-foots and you put them together. Now you need to be conscious a little bit of how they're going to be hanging it. If it's going on a door, It's going on an archway. Where your middle is, where your two ends meet, if you're putting a bow there, or if you're going to put a bow on the corners. So that's just the only stuff you have to be conscious of. But those two non-foot pieces that you're making are going to look the same, because everything has to, you know, correspond. One more pumpkin and we are done. Now you can always add more stuff to this, but this is my budget. This is the budget that my customers seem to like the most, and so it's the budget that I'm going to stick to. I know my customers don't really want to pay more than $200 for a garland, and so that's why I try to budget and do about $70 to $100 worth of materials on a garland, so that I can keep it at a good price point. So I'm going to turn this around so you guys can get a front view and see what we made. That's how it looks sitting on someone's mantle. Isn't that super cute? It's beautiful. I love that the plaid adds texture. Ribbon is a huge thing, guys. If you did not have these bows and ribbons on here, this would look totally empty. So when you think it's looking empty, see if you've added your ribbon first. Don't start putting a whole bunch of picks and stems in there. You want to see how much inexpensive stuff you can get inside of this first before you start adding a crazy amount of picks and stems and embellishments to it. Make sure you have your mesh full, you have your ribbons throughout, then start adding all the extra. But look how full that is. There's leaves just bursting everywhere. It's so cool. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining me. I cannot wait to see you guys next week. I think we're probably going to do some corner swags for a mantle. That's going to be awesome. Or for doorways or anything. I'm not sure on the second tutorial yet, but I know we're going to be doing some Halloween door swags. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks for being here in the Crafty VIP. Bye.